சார் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்க சார்.
இது போட்டு. ஹலோ, you are able to hear my voice?
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம் சார்.
அதான் என்னோட வாய்ஸ் கேக்குதான்னு நான் உங்ககிட்ட கேக்குறேன். நீங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்ன்றது நான் வாய்ஸ் கேக்குதான்னு கேக்குறேன். வாய்ஸ் கேக்குதா?
வாய்ஸ் கேக்குது சார்.
அதுதான் நீங்க எனக்கு ஒரு ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா எனக்கு தெரியும். நீங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா நான் சொல்றது உங்களுக்கு கேக்குறதாங்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு வார்த்தை எஸ் சார் கேக்குது சார் அப்படின்னு. இன்னும் கூட 5 நிமிஷம் இருக்குது, 3:25 தான் ஆகுது. அதனாலதான் நான் கரெக்டா 3:20க்கே ஜாயின் பண்ணேன் நானு. ஓகே, இப்ப நீங்க சொல்லுங்க எப்ப இது ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கணும்னு. நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறேன்.
இப்ப ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுங்க சார், லைவ் போயிட்டு தான் இருக்கு.
Okay, 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 okay. So very good afternoon to everyone. That today's topic which is at what is it at the, on behalf of the Anna Institute of Management, I welcome you. And already I have taken the 2 topics with reference to the environmental sciences and engineering. And today the topic which is being given to me for taking your civil services examination is the climate change. Okay, climate change is a very, very important topic, and it has become the talk of the town also. Why means it is not the climate change is not be considered at the local level, and it is affecting the climate at the global level. Now we must know the difference between the weather and the climate. What is the difference between the weather and the climate? Weather is with reference to the change in the meteorological conditions with reference to a few days. It may be for a 1 day or a 2 days or for a week or a month only. But on the other hand, when there is a change in the weather pattern throughout the season, or it may be happening for the whole year, then it can be called as a climate. That is the change in the climatic pattern. And probably you would have seen in the recent past, even though that is a rainy season, take for example in Chennai itself, the rainy season is happened to be in the month of November, December, January. But what has happened? That the rainy season may be for the 3 days, and if you work it out to the quantum of the rain for the three months, it is say some X quantity means, but same rain, if it is poured not in a sporadic way for the 3 months, but it is completely downpoured for nearly 6 days or 7 days, what will be the scenario? This is what happened in the year 2015. With the result, there was a heavy flood that happened in the Chennai. So now what is the reason which was attributed, or even in the recent past also, you can able to see what is during that rainy season, that rainy days have shrunken, but the quantum of the rain is the same. Similarly, during the summer season, the temperature is also supposed to be a very also. And even in the month of January, sometimes we used to get the rain. So these type of the sporadic changes, what is the reason we can attribute it for that reason? It is because of the change, that is the type of the climatic change pattern is because of the weather pattern change, and it is purely because of the various other environmental factors. And the climate change has got that uniqueness. What is that uniqueness means? See, the effect of that particular area, that is whether it is the rain or heavy summer or heavy, what is this one, temperature, it may not be due to the activity of that particular place alone. It would have been the reflection of the activity which is taking place at some other place also. For example, if you are burning a heavy amount of the fossil fuels, or if your agricultural practices are not so environmental friendly, again, if your solid waste are not properly disposed, with the result, in one part of the country or in one part of the region in the world, where you are releasing more quantum of the greenhouse gases, means these greenhouse gases will not be moving the national boundary. These greenhouse gases does not move the sovereignty of the country. With the result, what will happen? These greenhouse gases will be passing through outside the boundary of the country, and it may be having an effect on some other country also. With the result, that country's weather pattern may be changed, and that will have an effect on the climate change. With the result, either the heavy downpour or that rainy days would have shrunken it for a few days, or it may not be any rain at all, or the temperature would have raised by 1 degree or 1.5 degrees. With the result, it has got a lot of consequences also. What are those consequences? Means that agricultural things will get affected. Then with the result that the flowering season will get affected, planting pattern will get affected. With the result, so many biological changes will be there. So all these things will have a potential impact on the human being as well as on the, on the environment. So the climate change is a very, very important factor. For that reason only, I have taken as a first chapter for the today's class. The climate change is the long-term average of a region's weather events. It is not a single one and it is not a short-term one. It is the long-term one. The second one, the Earth climate is not a static one. So you cannot be able to predict, okay, this is what the climate which is being existing for the so many years or the so many decades like that. We cannot be able to do that. It is not a static one. It is a dynamic one. Then again, over the billions of the years, the Earth existence, it has changed many times in response to natural causes like a sunspot, ice age, then the glaciers, all these things. It may not be due to the anthropogenic factors alone. It may be due to this other environmental things which is affecting the environment also. For example, the sunspot is not because of any anthropogenic activity. Similarly, that ice age, that is also not because of the activity of any of the human beings. So similarly, these type of the things, there, for example, the volcanic eruptions, or the tsunami, or the cyclone, or the forest fire, all these things which are not because of the activity of the human being, it is because of the activity of the nature itself. With the result, this nature itself is causing the pollution to the nature, and that one also may have an effect on the climate changing pattern. Again, climate change means that the change in the climate which is attributed directly or indirectly to the human activity that alters the composition of the global atmosphere, and which is in addition to the natural climate variability observed over the comparable time periods. This is what the perfect definition which is being given. That is, it is not only, it is directly or indirectly. Today, our people talk about the climate change, they mean the changes in the climate over that 100 years minimum, and which is caused predominantly by the human activity. What are those things which are considered to be the human activity? I will be discussing one by one. Now coming back to that, what is the phase of the climate change? It represents the change in the long-term weather patterns. Climate change is not a change in the weather in a particular day. It is the cumulative change of long-term weather pattern and changes in the climate. For example, it is possible that a winter day in the Jammu could be a summer or a sunny day in the mild. But the average weather the climate tells about the Jammu winters may mainly be cold and include the snow and the rain also. So, such a type of the climate change is a measurable effects in the continual varying trend. The climate change is usually measured in major shift in the temperature, rainfall, snow, wind pattern for not 1 year or 2 years, at least for a minimum a decade or more than that. Okay. Then, what is the effects of the human being over the climate change? Human beings are creating the climate change by burning a large common quantum of the fossil fuels. What are those things which are considered to be the fossil fuels? Take, for example, the coal, oil, natural gas, and these are all considered to be the fossil fuel. And the fossil fuels are formed for the, what is the millions of years, number one. And secondly, it is a finite. It is not an infinite one also. So by using that, you are, what is this one? You are exposing this finite fuel, number one. And secondly, by doing some non-energy efficient way of utilizing these fossil fuels, you are contributing more quantum of the pollution to the atmosphere, and that pollution is measured by the carbon dioxide and other gases, and these gases will lead to the greenhouse effect and the global warming, and subsequently it leads to the climate change. And again, that deforestation, another factor also. What is that deforestation? See, that 1/3 of the land area must be on the forest cover. When the forest cover is there, automatically it will have a good amount of that effect. That is that local climate or even that microclimate or even the local climate also. If the forest cover is happened to be a dense one, means it will have a wonderful effect on the climatic pattern of the particular region itself. That is number one. Then second one, these plants are acting as a, what is this one? Carbon sink. Carbon sink in the sense means whatever that the carbon dioxide which is being released by way of burning the fossil fuels and other activities like the solid waste disposal and all, and these carbon dioxide are being absorbed by the plants, by the leaves for the purpose of the photosynthesis. Then with the result, this carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is being taken away, and these plants are acting as a good carbon, what is the sink for that. So, but if you are going on removing the trees, what will happen? There is no sink for the carbon. With the result, this carbon will be laying there in the atmosphere, and that will be for so many years. With the result, it will be causing the global warming. So now that what the point I would like to state here is deforestation is one of the major causes for the purpose of what is this one? This removing, what is this? Removing this type of the, what is the carbon sink. Thereby, you are, on one side, you are contributing more quantum of the greenhouse gases. On another side, you are deforesting activity is going on. With the result, there is no carbon sink, and these greenhouse gases will in turn will increase the global temperature, global warming, and simultaneously and consecutively the, what is this one, the climate change. Okay. Now they can no longer store the carbon, and the carbon released into the atmosphere. What is this one? Next one. We will see about them at the end. Another half an hour I will put the PowerPoint. Before that, I just wanted to give in the form of a lecture to you. After that, I will put the PowerPoint and explain to you. Now what is the global warming? Earth has warmed unprecedented over in the last, what we can say, 100 years, particularly in the last 2 decades. Since 1992, that each year it has been the warmest year on the record. And 2016 was the most hottest year it was found out. And what are these causes that such as the wilderness of the heat waves, strong tropical storms were also attributed during those years. Now global warming, what is the global warming? Global warming is an average increase in the temperature of the atmosphere near the Earth's surface and in the troposphere. We all know that the Earth atmosphere is divided into troposphere, stratosphere, and ionosphere. The atmosphere which is near to the Earth's surface is called as the troposphere. And this troposphere which can contribute to the changes in the global climatic pattern. Now, whatever the greenhouse gases which you are releasing, that is within the troposphere limit, and that is causing a large quantum of the effect. Global warming can occur from a variety of the causes, both natural and the human induced. In common usage, the global warming often refers to the warming that can occur as a result of increased emissions of greenhouse gases, mainly by the human activities. I told you there are other natural activities also contributing it, but in the recent past, most of this more quantum of the greenhouse gases have been emitted because of the human interference and human activity. Okay, sir. Next, we will move to that. What is the impact of the global warming? Now, global warming, see, when there is an increase, I will explain it through the PowerPoint also. Now, global warming, the first effect, when there is an increase in temperature, what will happen? This increase in temperature will lead to the melting of the ices in the glaciers. And when the ice melt means more water will be flown through the rivers. And when the rivers passing through that, and finally it is reaching the sea and ocean. With the result, what will happen? The ocean level will be increasing with it. So this is called as a rise in the sea level. Okay, sir, what is the effect of the rise in the sea level? See, when there is a rise in the sea level means there are certain islands which may be even immersing, which may even gone out also, which may even go out. Then similarly, when there is a, say, take for example, that India nearly 3/4 of the land is on the coastal area, and this seawater may get intruded also. So this is the main effect of the rise in the sea level. You could have seen in most of the time in the paper also that the sea has gone around, say, 30 meters inside the land area, like all these things in the news. Right. Then the next effect of this global warming. change in the rain pattern. This is the most important one. So here the rain season will be there, but the major difference is during the rainy season, if the rain is going in the sporadic way, means there will not be any flooding. With the, if the same rain is poured, the rainy days have shrunken. With the result, the quantum of the rain which was supposed to be for the 3 months is poured within the 3 days, means what will happen? This will be leading to lot of flooding of the land areas. So, because of the change in the rain pattern, number one, flooding will be taking place. Then number two, that is because of this flooding, lot of our agricultural crops will get affected. Then third one, this agriculture also, what does it need? That is, if the rain are in the sporadic way, means that will be helping this agricultural crop to grow. But on the other hand, if there is a heavy downpour, means that the agricultural plants or agricultural what is this one? Plants also will not be growing, and it will get immersed. With the result, there will be a heavy loss also will take place. Okay, sir. What is the third effect? It will be having an effect on the livelihood of the extreme events such as the heat wave, flooding, and hurricanes also. You could have seen in most of the time in the paper also, oh, that place there was a heavy hurricane, that place there was a heavy flooding. All these things will affect the human being livelihood. That will get affected. Because of the global warming, there is a rain pattern change, and the rain pattern is affecting once again that human beings' livelihood. Then melting of the ice caps, I told you. Then melting of the glaciers, I told you. Then widespread washing of the animal populations, and due to this habitat loss, spread of the diseases like malaria also. Then because when the temperature is, that is during the normal season, this is supposed to be the temperature which has to be maintained. And if the temperature at one particular season is happened to be the X, and X time only, X temperature time only, there will be an increasing in the mosquito population. But on the other hand, if the temperature is happened to be for various seasons, means then again the mosquito breeding and the mosquito population will be increasing. And when that is in increasing, means if loss of plankton, means what is the plankton? It is the free floating algae, and these algae are the major carbon sink. Whatever that carbon dioxide which is released in the atmosphere, that will get absorbed by the, what is this one, floating algae. And these floating algae get affected, means again what is this one, the carbon dioxide will not get absorbed for the purpose of doing the photosynthesis. Again, that will also lead to the global warming. Okay. Now let us move on to that. What is that I will be explaining it into the PowerPoint, that the complete effect of this global warming. Okay. Now coming back to that, what are the various gases which is contributing this type of the global warming? The first and the foremost is supposed to be the carbon dioxide. We all know the formula of the carbon dioxide. Of course, water vapor also can be the biggest overall contributor to the greenhouse effect, and the humans are not directly responsible for emitting this gas quantity sufficient to change its effect on the concentration in the atmosphere. However, the carbon dioxide, other greenhouse gases, is increasing that amount of the water vapor in the air by boosting the rate of transpiration or the evaporation or the evapotranspiration. Then, unlike the carbon dioxide which can persist in the air for centuries, water vapor cycles will not be persisting for a long time, and through the atmosphere it will be quickly gone. And secondly, evaporating from the oceans and elsewhere before coming back to the rain or the snow for that matter. Okay, sir. Now coming back to that, since the rate of transpiration or the rate of evaporation rises with the temperature, the amount of water in the air in any one time and the amount of warming it causes is strongly related to the amount of other greenhouse gases in that. So water vapor may not be directly causing that, but along with the carbon dioxide, it will be causing some effect also. So now coming to the second point, what is the effect of the carbon dioxide? What are the various sources of this carbon dioxide? Means I have already told you, major, it is burning of the, what is this one? Fossil fuels. What are those things which are considered as a fossil fuels? Wood, coal, oil, gas, all these things are finite fuels and formed for the centuries and the millions of years, and burning those type of the burning of this type of what is this one, fossil fuels, and not in an efficient, energy efficient way, with the result you are contributing large quantum of the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Okay, this CO2 is the primary greenhouse gas emitted because of the human activities. And the CO2 is naturally present in the atmosphere. We all know when you see the composition of the, what is this one, the gaseous composition of that atmosphere, at least 0.02% of the carbon dioxide is present in that atmosphere, predominantly the nitrogen and oxygen. Carbon dioxide is also present. Earth carbon cycle, the natural circulation of the carbon among the atmosphere, ocean, soil, plants, animals, everywhere. Then second, human activities are altering the carbon cycle both by adding more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere and by reducing the ability of the natural sink. What are those natural sinks? These forests to remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This is what the point. I told you, now whatever the carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere, and these carbon dioxide in turn absorbed by the leaves or absorbed by the plants for the purpose of doing the photosynthesis. We all know that is the photosynthesis, CO2 is taken away and the starch is being manufactured. Suppose if you are removing the plant cover, especially the green cover, especially the leaves, then what will happen? These carbon dioxide will not be sink into that, will be present forever in the atmosphere, will not get into sink into the plants. So with the result, it will be leading to the global warming. Okay. While CO2 emissions come from the variety of the natural sources, human-related emissions are responsible for the increase in the atmosphere, major because of the human intervention, especially in the last, I can say that 30 to 40 years. Okay, sir. Now, one by one, we will see what are the main things. Combustion of the fossil fuels like the gasoline and other things. Then many industrial processes also contribute more quantum of the carbon dioxide. Then several processes produce the carbon dioxide emissions through the chemical reactions. And above all, that in fact, the developed countries are making an allegation against the developing countries, the reasons what they are attributing to the countries like India, China, Brazil, Argentina and all these, whatever that agricultural practices which you are doing is not environmental friendly. We know, and number two, these countries are predominantly the rice-eating countries. Rice-eating countries, the land was covered at least the knee deep of water for a season. And this will be contributing more quantum of the methane gases. And methane is also one of the gas for the greenhouse gases. So this is the major reason they are attributing it to the developing countries. Okay, sir. What is the next one with reference to the developing country is the solid waste management. You know that waste can be categorized into that the solid waste, liquid waste, gaseous waste. Then again, it can be characterized as the municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, biomedical waste, and all. Now, what is that municipal solid waste? Municipal solid waste is the waste which is generated out of municipal activities, household activities. And these whatever the waste which is generated in our household activities, only the solid waste are considered to be the municipal solid waste. And these municipal solid waste are major in the two categories. One is the biodegradable and another one is the non-biodegradable. What is that biodegradable? Take for example the cotton or the vegetable waste and other things. These things are, even if you leave it in the nature, means automatically because of the temperature availability as well as because of this bacterial action, it will get degraded naturally and finally it will be leading to the carbon dioxide. Then non-biodegradable things, you have to segregate it and you have to go for that incineration. But what we are doing it most of the time, in most of the developing countries, they are not segregating this waste, and these waste are together, and this waste are most of the time it is being dumped. Actually the waste has to be disposed, but what we are doing is the most of the time it is being dumped in the, what is this, dumping yard. And in that dumping yard, this biodegradation activity is going on and the composite materials, with the result more quantum of the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen sulfide, and all released. If as long as the what is this one? The oxygen availability is more, means more quantum of aerobic reaction will take place, more carbon dioxide will get released. But on the other hand, if the oxygen supply is lessened, and if the what is this one, anaerobic bacterial action is taking place, means they will be releasing more quantum of not the carbon dioxide but the methane and the what is this one, hydrogen sulfide. And all these gases are considered to be the greenhouse gases. Right. Okay, sir. Then what is the major source for the methane? Then I told you that wetlands, number one, that is the major source of the methane. Methane, another greenhouse gases that is being released into the agricultural activities from the agricultural land during the time of cultivation of especially the paddy. Number one. Then secondly, I told you, when there is a putrefaction and when there is an anaerobic degradation is taking place in the waste dumping yard, means automatically more quantum of the methane gas is also emitted. Then apart from that, what are the major sources of the methane? Means wetlands are the largest sources emitting the methane from the bacteria decomposes the organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Then smaller sources like termites, then oceans, sediment volcanoes, wildfires, they are also releasing some mild quantum of the methane gases also. Then of course, human induced mainly by the agricultural, domestic, and the cattle waste, then buffalo waste, sheep, goats, then camels, large quantum of the methane as a part of the normal digestive process. Also, when the animals manually stored or managed in lagoons or holding tanks, methane gas is produced. Because of the human raise these animals for food, the emissions are considered to be the human related. We can say it is a human related. And globally, agricultural sector is the primary source for the methane emissions. Okay, sir. Now, industry is also contributing a large quantum of the methane, primary component of the natural gas, then emitted in the atmosphere during the production, processing, storage, transmission, distribution of the crude oil and the natural gas. Again, the methane is released. Then waste from the home, just now only I told you, and the businesses, there when there is a putrefaction activity is taking place, more quantum of the methane gas is also released, which is one of the greenhouse gas. Okay, sir. Then what is the next one of the major greenhouse gas? The next one is the nitrous oxide. We all know what are the various oxides of the nitrogen. N2O, nitrous oxide, NO, nitric oxide, then NO2, nitrogen oxide, N2O5, nitrogen pentoxide. Okay, sir. Now, what is the nitrous oxide? Nitrous oxide naturally present in the atmosphere as the part of the earth nitrogen cycle and has a variety of the natural sources also. One second. But, however, the human activities such as agriculture, fossil fuel combustion, wastewater management, and the industrial process in increasing the amount of N2O into the atmosphere. Okay, sir. Then, what are the human-induced? Natural sources, I told you, mainly because of the bacteria breaking down the nitrogen in the soils and the oceans. And there it is releasing that more quantum of the N2O. And that N2O will in turn convert it to the NO2, and NO2 in turn may be converted to the nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen pentoxide and all. But N2O5 is not a static one, it will be degraded into NO2. But what are the other human-induced things which is contributing to nitrous oxide, namely that N2O? That is the agricultural nitrous oxide emitted when the people additional nitrogen to the soil because of synthetic fertilizers. Nitrous oxide is also emitted during the breakdown of the nitrogen in the livestock and the urine, which is contributing nearly 6% of the N2O into the atmosphere. Okay. Then again, what is the next sector which is contributing more quantum of that nitrous oxide? N2O means that the transportation. Emitted various transportation fuels are burned, also this N2O gets emitted. Then coming back to the industry. In that industry, the byproduct during the production of the nitric acid, which is used in making the synthetic commercial fertilizers, and in the production of the adipic acid, which is used to make the fibers like the nylon and other synthetic products, this N2O gets released. Okay, sir. Now, these are all, I told you about the carbon, the water vapor, carbon dioxide, then methane, nitrous oxide. Then, of course, you can say that some fluorinated gases are also contributed, and those are also responsible for that. Those are also considered to be the greenhouse gas, and they are also contributing the greenhouse effect. But of course, other things, you know that that ozone depleting substances like hydrofluorocarbons, and then that will be having an effect of breaking down of that ozone into O2 and O, and this O will combine with another O, will form that O2. When that O3 is acting like a shield in preventing this ultraviolet rays entering into that atmosphere. You know, the sun rays will consider that the spectrum, if you see on the left side of the spectrum, you will have that ultraviolet rays. Ultraviolet rays are the short wavelength. They will have more energy, and they got more quantum of the heat also. And this energy that is coming from the sun, now this ozone is acting like a protecting layer, and it is protecting that ultraviolet rays to enter into the Earth atmosphere. But on the other hand, by the release of several chlorofluorocarbons, that is, these compounds, what will do is, they will break that ozone molecules which is present in the atmosphere. Ozone molecule formula, you all know that it is the O3. And this O3 will be broken into O2 and O, and this O will combine with another O to form the O2, and the O3 layer is being removed, means it, and which is forming a natural shield in the atmosphere, with the result this ultraviolet rays will get penetrated inside the atmosphere or inside the Earth surface. And what is the major cause of that one? When the ultraviolet rays entering into that, means number one, it will be leading to the skin darkening. Then second, skin, that is called the skin tanning effect. Then second one, this one will lead to the, what is this one, skin cancer. Then third one, more quantum of the ultraviolet rays are there. It is not good for our eyes, and we will also be getting the cataract. And above all, it will lead to the skin cancer. I told you, that is the most important. And mostly, this ozone hole effect is being affected only at the polar regions. See, whatever that ozone which you are, whatever that chlorofluorocarbon which you are releasing in the tropical area, temperate area and all, they will not have much effect on the tropical and the temperate area, but they will have more effect. It will be passing and it will be going to the Arctic area and Antarctic area, and in the polar region it will have a more effect. It will be breaking this O3 molecule, which is forming as a shield over the atmosphere. Thereby it is protecting the ultraviolet rays not entering into the Earth, surface of the Earth. And when this shield is broken away, it will forming a hole-like thing, and that is called as an ozone hole. And that ozone hole will allow that ultraviolet rays to enter into the Earth atmosphere, and that will be causing that effect of the skin tanning, skin cancer, cataract, all these things. To some extent, it will be leading to the global warming also. Okay, sir. Now we will go for this one. What is this one? Now you can be able to see how this climate change has got a chain of effects. Chain of effects in the sense means, number one, first one, because of the combustion of the fuel due to the human activities. Number two, it is contributing large quantum of the greenhouse gases. The large quantum of the greenhouse gases will increasing the global temperature, and that leads to global warming. And this global warming in turn increasing the global temperature at least by 0.5 or 0.1 degree or 1 degree centigrade. And when there is an increasing in the temperature, what will happen? That ice caps which are present at the Himalayan regions and the Arctic regions, they will be slowly melting. And when they are melting it, what will happen? Including the glaciers. And when they are melting it, what will happen? That river will get flooded. And this river water in turn, where it will go? It will go to the ocean only. And when the ocean is there, and when the river water is more quantum of the river water is there, means it will be leading to the flooding. And it will be, this flooding will affect not only what is this one? the land areas also it will get affected. Then these flood in turn will go to the sea and the sea level will get increased. If the sea level will get increased means what will happen? Some of the islands which are at the low level, they have what is this one? Every possibility of getting immersed in the flood, and even certain areas which are the coastal areas, they will also in turn lose their coast and the sea level will get intruding in this one. So large scale of destruction of the ecosystem and the extinction of the species will happen. Okay. Now these are all the major effects of the climate change. Now we will see one by one in that PowerPoint. Now because another half an hour is there, I will go to the PowerPoint. Your entire screen. Share your entire screen. மேடம் இதை ஷேர் பண்றது எப்படி இது? ஹலோ
சார்,
வச்சுட்டேன். இதை ஷேர் பண்ணிக்கிறதுக்கு பவர் பாயிண்ட்
அது ஆரோ மார்க் பிரஸ் பண்ணுங்க சார்.
அதான் அந்த ஆரோ மார்க்கை பிரஸ் பண்ண ஷேர் வந்து ஆக்டிவேட் ஆகுது. அதை நான் இதை ஓபன் பண்ணி வச்சுட்டேன். பவர் பாயிண்ட் ஓபன். Now that one I am minimizing it. Now I am going for this one, arrow pressing. அதுல விண்டோவா இல்ல விண்டோ ஆர் என்டையர் ஸ்கிரீன்? விண்டோ. இல்ல your entire screen. Share your வருதா? ஷேர் ஆகுதா?
எஸ் சார், வருது.
வருதா?
வருது சார்.
Yes, you are able to see the implications of the climate change for India. தெரியுதா?
எஸ் சார்.
Okay, can I proceed?
Okay, fine.
Okay. Now for the another, what is this one? For nearly 40 minutes, I was just telling about the theoretical aspects. Now I will be showing it in the form of a PowerPoint. What are the various implications of the climate change for India? Okay. Now the climate change, why and how? I have just now only told you climate change is due to the global warming, and global warming is due to the greenhouse effect. And greenhouse effect is due to the rise in the greenhouse gases, and this increase in the greenhouse gases is mainly due to the combustion of the fossil fuels. Yes, climate change is a human induced. It is an accelerated greenhouse effect. Then climate change is generally equated with the global warming, and global warming is attributed to the greenhouse effect. Okay. Now, what are the climate change basic issues? The first one, Earth climate change, Earth climate varies naturally because of a variety of cosmological and geological process. That's what I told you in the beginning. It is not only in the anthropocentric only, it is due to that nature is also contributing the nature for the pollution. But the main difference is whenever is nature is contributing the pollution and affecting the nature means it will get a balance on its own. But on the other hand, when the pollution is taking place because of the human intervention and the human activity means and affecting the nature means the nature will take a long time to get itself stabilized and get back to the original condition. This is what the difference between the nature contributing the nature for the pollution and the human induced pollution for that one. Okay. Now, Earth climate varies naturally because of a variety of the cosmological and the geological process. This is called as the climate change. Refers to an additional and relatively rapid change induced by the human actions. Additional change several degrees within the century will disrupt the foundations in the life of the Earth, ecosystem on life, and in general have evolved within a narrow band of climate change and environmental conditions. Okay. What is a greenhouse effect? Our atmosphere is but a thin layer of the gases around a huge bulky planet. This gaseous outer ring and its greenhouse effect makes a life on the Earth possible by regulating the Earth climate. Without the greenhouse effect, days will be much hotter and nights will be much colder, and the life on the earth may not be possible without the greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is really good, but human accelerated greenhouse effect is the bad one. The process of keeping up the globe by the greenhouse gases is called the global warming. Global warming, see, our body, we have to have certain degree of the temperature to be maintained. But if there is an increase in temperature in our body, means what does it indicate? There is some type of the bacterial action which is not necessary for your body is taking place with inside your body, and these reactions are happen to be the exothermic reactions releasing this heat. Because of that one, your body temperature has increased, or this increase in temperature is one of the indicator that some type of the negative reaction is taking place inside your body. This is another indicator. Okay, like that. When the global temperature is increasing, we can consider it is like a fever of the earth for that matter. Okay, sir. Now I will go to some theory, because some people may be on the, not the science students, but they may be in the arts side. For them, I just wanted to explain a few basic scientific aspects. The solar energy, the greenhouse effect, I wanted to explain it with the reference to the, what is this one, with a little bit science background for the people who have not studied the science. Then solar energy, the sun rays pass through the earth atmosphere, is much of the energy is absorbed by the surface and the atmosphere. Now some of the energy will getting that reflected. Some of the radiation is reflected back towards the space. Okay. Trapped. What are this trapped one? The reflected energy is no longer wavelength, has a longer wavelength that causes the molecules of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the lowest level of that atmosphere. Now, which is the lowest level? The lowest level is considered to be the troposphere. The rapid movement of these molecules traps heat into the troposphere, warming the planet, and this warming is called as what is this one? Global warming, or we can call it as a greenhouse effect. And what are the gases which is causing it? Just now only I told you carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide. Then the higher level of the CO2, methane and other greenhouse gases accumulating on that atmosphere enhances the greenhouse effect is rising through the global temperature. Okay, I will explain it with a simple experiment. Take a visible energy, that is, you take one glass house, a phenomenon of the greenhouse in which the glass roof allows the solar radiation to pass through, but prevents the escape of heat into the infrared radiation. See, you are having, what is this one? A sort of a glass house is there. Now that visible energy from the sun passes through the glass into the ground, into this inside the thing. But infrared heat energy from the ground is partly reflected the glass, and some of them trapped inside that greenhouse effect. Now this was named as a greenhouse effect by Fourier in the French scientist in 1827. The temperature inside the greenhouse can be higher by 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. Glass is a good conductor of the light, but bad conductor of the heat. Now the heat is getting trapped. Huge greenhouses, not to be confused with the green buildings. Green buildings are totally different. This is the greenhouse effect. Spread over several acres, but built temperate regions for growing the plants during the winter. Now, I will explain it in a very, very simple one. Now you are parking the car in a hot sun. Now the sun, what is this one? The sunlight is falling over the car, with the result that inside the car the air gets heated. Now this air does not have any chance to go outside. With the result, when it is being circulated inside, that inner temperature is more than the temperature outside. A mother left her two kids. See, this is an example. Locked inside the car and parked in the sun and went for the shopping. When she returned, both the kids died in the seats. The mother was arrested and prosecuted. Why? Because the sun energy passes through the car's windshield. Energy is radiated from the car's interior, cannot pass back through the windshield, and the car getting the warmth. And this is nothing, it can be equated with the global warming. Now, because of these greenhouse gases, these greenhouse gases are forming like a shield over the troposphere and atmosphere, and whatever that sun energy which is falling on the earth, and this energy when it gets reflected, and these greenhouse gases does not allow the greenhouse energy to get reflected and make this, Hello? Anything? So, make this energy to not to get reflected. With the result that this heat is going on continuously present inside that atmosphere, within the troposphere atmosphere, and this will be leading to the warming, and this is nothing but the global warming. And now I hope you have understood. That is, say, inside the car, that windshield and the top of the car, when the sun energy is passing, inside the air is getting heated up, and this heated air does not have any ventilation to go out, with the result that the inner air is more hotter than the outer one. Like that, in the earth atmosphere, you know that the troposphere area, when the greenhouse gases are continuously occupying like methane, carbon dioxide and all, whatever that the sunlight which has passed through inside that one, that heat energy does not have any opportunity to get away from the troposphere atmosphere, because these greenhouse gases are preventing this the heat energy to pass outside the troposphere. And this heat energy, when it is presenting within the troposphere atmosphere, then the temperature of that particular place, that is that slowly it is increasing. That is nothing but the global warming. Now, what is the car? Inside the car, it got heated up. Similarly, inside the troposphere on the earth, it got heated up. So you take a set of 4 glass jars on the same type and size, put a thermometer. Keep 2 jewels under the direct sunlight, one with a lid and another one without lid. Keep 2 jewels in the shade, one with a lid and another one without a lid. After a few hours, note the temperature in the jars under the sun and shade with the lids. What is the differences you can able to found, and you can able to account it. This is what I have just explained. Now, that is the global warming sun. Most of the sun's energy is penetrate to the atmosphere and strike the earth. Some of it will get reflected back, while some of the sun's energy is re-radiated back into the space and remains trapped within that atmosphere, within that troposphere, and it gets heated up. That is called as a global warming. And why it is not reflected back? Because of the shield formed by the greenhouse gas. Right. Now that let us move on to that. What is the annual greenhouse gases which are emitted by the various sectors? Number 1, mainly that I told you that various things. I told you about the power stations, industrial processes, waste disposals, agricultural things, and I told you. Now with the graphic thing, I am just explaining. Industrial process accounted nearly 16.8%. Power stations around 21.3%. Waste disposal around 3.4%. Then land use and biomass burning. Where is this biomass burning? You could have seen that is even the southern part of India during the Bogi festival, large quantum of the biomass is being burned. Similarly, during the Baisakhi, that is in the month of December, January and all. In the northern part of India, large quantum of the agricultural waste, especially the hay and other things are being burned. These biomass burnt causes nearly 10% of the, greenhouse gases annually by this sector. Then residential and commercial and other sources, then fossil fuel retrieval, processing and distribution, agricultural byproducts. Okay, these are all the major, sectors which are contributing the greenhouse gases. I told you just a few minutes back, what are those greenhouse gases? In that case, the carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide. And what are these things means? Carbon dioxide. These are these sectors, these various sectors. How much quantum of the carbon dioxide they are contributing it? I am showing it in the first picture. Then how much amount of the contributing for the methane? How much quantum for the nitrous oxide? This is what I am showing it in the pictorial form. Okay, sir. Now what are those greenhouse gases? CH2O2, that is a carbon dioxide. CH4, methane. H2O, water vapor, I told you. CFC, chlorofluorocarbons. N2O, nitrous oxide. O3, ozone. Then chlorofluoro compounds, SF6. Sources and contributions, carbon dioxide, mainly fossil fuels, deforestation, biomass burning, automobile. Methane, cattle digestive tracts, paddy fields, termites and mounds. This is what I told you now. CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, mainly from the fridges, air conditioners, coolers. Nitrous oxide, mainly because of the nitrification by the bacterial action. O3, ozone, automobile emissions, and H2O, water vapor. Now, one cow can produce around 73,000 liters of methane per year, mainly because of this excreta. Then recent addition to the greenhouse gases, perfluorocarbons, substitute of the chlorofluorocarbons are also the byproduct of aluminum smelting and uranium enrichment process. Then SF6, sulfur hexafluoride, used as an insulating material in circuit breakers, also used in detecting that water leaks. Then sulfur dioxide, on the other hand, has got a cooling effect. The nitrogen and oxygen are not considered to be the greenhouse gases. Thank God, we are very lucky. And nitrogen forms around 78%, and oxygen forms around 21%. That constitute 99% of the Earth atmosphere not having the heat trapping property. Otherwise, it will not be a global warming, it will be a global boiling. The CO2, the major contributor, is around only 0.03. I was just telling in the beginning, around 0.02 to 0.04. Now it is a 0.3 is the 0.03 is the normal one. 0.048 is considered to be a very increasing one to the total atmospheric gases. Then greenhouse gases trap heat by bond stretching and angle changes. So that is a different one. Let us not go into the physics aspect of that one. It is it may lead to the complication. But now you will ask the question, sir, whether the global warming is happening. Of course, now it is a very visible. You could have seen in the 2015 in Chennai area, there's a heavy flooding has happened. You could have seen in that, what is this, in western part of the country also, there was a heavy flooding in the unexpected season of the and there is a heavy amount of the downpouring, a large quantum of the flooding also taking place. And in some of the places, there is an increasing in temperature also. So normally during the summer season, it is 41 means it may be increasing to 42 or 43 also. So if you could be able to take that average temperature for the last 1 century means it may be around fluctuating between the 41 and 42 means. But in the last 3 or 4 years or even the last 10 years, there is an increasing of 42 to 44 also you can have seen in the various places. So these type of the erratic things which are happening is that the reason can be attributed is mainly because of the climate. Now, whether it is happening or not, that is the biggest question. Everybody is made to believe that global warming is real, it is the hottest global issue. Then lot of statistical data and proved with the, what is this one, UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change and Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, that report, all these things are very clearly said there is an increasing in the global temperature. That 11 hottest years on record have occurred since 1990. Himalayan range may become the desert. That is in another 1 century it may become the desert. Himalayan glaciers are retreating. That is 80 meters per year and Gangotri. Northern Pole briefly have ice during the summer season. And you could have seen in the year 2007, Lord Shiva witnessed the global warming and Amarnath Shivalinga has totally melted also for the first time. Implications of the climate change in India. This is what the major thing I would like to state. Number 1, melting of the polar ice caps, glaciers. These are all the general effects. Sea level rise due to the expansion of the water and also due to the melting of the ice. Now the first point, expansion of the water. Now when the expansion of water in the sense means you would have studied in physics, anything which is getting heated up will lead to that expansion. Similarly, because of the greenhouse effect, the global warming is taking place and the heat is little bit increasing it. With the result, there is a thermal expansion of the water is also taking place. When the thermal expansion of the water is taking place, automatically that water level also increasing it, and that water level, in order to get itself adjust, it may be flooding to the land area also. So this is the physical phenomenon that is due to the expansion of water. The other phenomenon is because of the melting of the ice in the polar regions, the glaciers and this Himalayas and all, and that will be increasing the quantity of the water. But again, already existing sea level, because of the thermal expansion of the water, it may be getting a little more also, and that may lead to the flooding, or that may lead to the flooding in the coastal areas, or it may lead to the submergence of the certain low-level islands also. Submergence of the low-lying areas, sinking of the coastal cities like Maldives may get vanished by the end of the century. That is what the Maldives conducted that meeting briefly under the sea a few years back, that to show the concern. Saltwater inundation, when the sea water is getting inside the land area means, and after some time it may get retrieved back, or even if it is not retrieved back, that water gets percolated into that one, and if that water is started transporting in the surrounding land areas means the seawater inundation will be there, with the result the groundwater quality will get affected in the surrounding areas. Now you could have seen in the several places, even in the Chennai area, Adayar River and all, the salt quantity has increased. There is a saline water only. It is mainly because of the intrusion of the seawater and the groundwater. It is getting polluted for that matter. And the seawater inundation, intrusion into the freshwater aquifers, and this may lead to that water crisis. That is, the water is there, but that water is not a potable one. So you have to invest a lot of money for the treatment, for the purpose of the removal of the salt also. So it increases a lot of economic expenditure also in your treatment process. Then shift in the rainfall, change in the cropping pattern, shift in the rainfall, I told you. Rainfall, I told you, that is, that whenever there is a shift in the rainfall pattern means it will automatically affect that agricultural pattern also. Agricultural pattern is affected means it will have a tremendous effect on that economy also. Change in the cropping pattern. Suppose you know that every crop cannot be grown in every season. So in that case, we are selecting certain type of the plants which are able to adjust with that particular temperature, can able to grow in that thing. If the temperature is increased means there may not be any pollination, or if the temperature increases because of that rainwater, heavy flooding has taken place, the entire thing will get affected also. Crop failures, starvation. Then all these things, what will happen? Finally, it doesn't not only have the ecological effects, and these ecological effects will in turn have economic effects. And the economic effects in turn will have a social effects. And the social effects in turn will have a political effects also. What is this political effect? This is because in the X part of the country, that agriculture, because of the flooding or because of the increase in temperature, there is no rain at all, means with the result, the backbone, namely that agriculture get affected. Agricultural laborers are getting affected. And they don't know, they cannot be able to practice that agriculture means they know only that agriculture, but they could not be able to practice because of the erratic pattern of the rainfall or that, what is this one, sunshining. With the result, what they will be doing, they cannot be able to do it. They will start in turn migrating from their hometown in search of certain jobs and other things to the nearby cities. Even sometimes they may migrate to the nearby countries also. Take for example, India is surrounded by the foreign countries like Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan and all. Now, because of the change in the climatic pattern and their agricultural pattern and other things are getting affected, and they are forced to, they don't have any, any means to maintain their livelihood in their own place, and they are forced to migrate from their place to another place that happened to be a neighboring country means, then in their country they have become a refugees and they are migrating to the neighboring country means, whether that neighboring country has got any obligation legally binding to give asylum to these people. This is what the question mark which arises. The second question mark is, in the form of several environmental refugees, the other antisocial elements may also be intruding and they will also enter. That will be leading to the affection of the sovereignty and the safety and security of the country also. So this is the another point we have to take into consideration. Now, in the international law at present, we are having the scope to give the asylum for the people who got affected in their own country because of the external aggression or because of the internal disturbance, when they are forced to migrate to the neighboring countries or any other country. As per the international law, we have to give the other country has to give the asylum to them. But because of the change in the climatic pattern, they have become the refugees in their own country, and in search of their livelihood, they are forced to migrate to the other countries, whether the other country have got an obligation as per the international law means it is not there. This is the biggest social issue also. So the climate change or this type of this global warming and all, it is not only affecting, it will have a chain of action, ecological, economical, social, political and political things. Then those countries which are affected may say, no, because of our activity we are not get affected. This is done by some other's activity and some other part of the globe, we are got affected. We were the victims of some other activity at some other places. So we are forced to migrate it. If they claim it means whether another country, white country has to give the asylum or not, it is the biggest question mark. Okay, now the global warming consequences. Threat with the climate change, refugees are the refugees because of the climate change. Beach erosion, loss of biodiversity. This is one of the most important. Beach erosion, I told you, that is, beach erosion means the sea water will get increased. Don't be under that impression, sir. We may be losing a few meters or a few stretches of the meters of the coastal line only. But out of the barring that, there is no effect. Like that, we cannot think. Because when the water gets increased, when the water is getting included into the land thing means that will get percolated and the water will get transported into the surrounding. With the result, there will be a seawater inundation. That seawater intrusion will take place, and in the surrounding areas, the groundwater will get polluted. The groundwater will get saline. Then loss of biodiversity. The loss of biodiversity, we all know that in a forest or in a naturally formed ecosystem, there is a stabilized biodiversity will be there. But if you are removing this biodiversity and planting your own plants which are causing that economic importance means they may be not having much of potential to withhold any of the pests and other things. With the result, they may be susceptible to various other diseases, and these sometimes they may be the carriers for the various diseases also. And so the protecting our biodiversity is the most important one for that matter. Then coral bleaching, again, socio-economic and political disturbances. It may lead to the war also, coastline change disputes with the maritime boundaries. Because in the land area, you can be able to find out what is the boundary level. But in the coastal areas or in the sea level, it is very difficult. And because of this change, what is this one? Water level increasing and other things, then this may lead to the maritime boundary. What is this one? Dispute between the neighboring countries. Between India and Sri Lanka, it is very nearby only. From the Dhanushkodi, Talamannar is hardly 30 kilometers, 30 nautical miles only. So these type of things will be affected. Then 1 degree centigrade will equal to change in the latitude of 100 kilometers. You just to see the thing. Then 2 to 5 degree rise in the enough to have Europe, the climate of Africa today. Himalayan range may become the desert. Then drought, desertification, climate change, severe storms, floods, winters, and heat waves. Then spread of epidemics. That is what I told you. Desertification, climate, that is severe storm, floods, winters, and this epidemics. I told you about the malaria. Okay, sir. Now, what is the impact on the agriculture and food security? The geographical area of India is just about 2.5% of the total earth surface, where about 17% of the global population and 18% of the livestock live. Rain-dependent agriculture is the main thing with reference to the rice, wheat, and other cereals in our staple food. Potentially a tropical country, if the global average temperature increases even by 1 degree centigrade, our cereal grain production will come down by 10%. For a 3 degrees in increase, it is not the 30%, it will be a total failure also. Then crop mature yearly when the temperatures are rise. Rate of respiration increases, Q10 value, but not the photosynthesis. More water is required per unit of food grain production, but water supply is declining. About 30% of the crop plants in the coastal areas may be lost on account of the tidal flood and invasion by the seawater. Nearly 70% of the crop plants may be lost for non-agricultural purposes. More power and energy may be required to beat the heat, depriving the agricultural of additional inputs needed to support the yield. Then coming back to the food security, all benefits of the green revolution will lose. We're talking about the second green revolution, food inflation, food shortage, food imports have become the common. Per capita food consumption is going on account of the economic growth, but per capita production is going on decreasing. Agriculture has become a burden to the farmers. Which country is going to feed us? Crop failure, drought and famine, drought and famine. Then water famine. You could have seen at so many places the water level is going on decreasing. It is going more and more inside. We have to put from the community level to the borewell and borewell to the deep borewell. It is going around more than 500 feet. You could have seen in the Rajasthan and other areas so much amount of the water famine. Then melting and retreating of the Himalayan glaciers, alarming rate. River Ganges in streams of the Himalayan origin may become the seasonal rivers. Then the dolphins of the river Ganges may vanish. It may lead to severe water crisis. Impact could be seen even in the gods of Himalayas. You see this, how this Amarnath has melted, that Shivalinga. Then this is what in the 2007, the Lingam altitude of 3,880 meters melted completely. This, the elders said, this was the first time in the history that the ice Shivalingam has disappeared, even before the first prayer was performed. The rise in temperature at the clave due to the global warming was said to be the reason for the primary cause for the melting of the ice in Shivaling. But it is not only the reason. Then the environmental refugees, I told you, on account of the sea level rise, 3 crores of the people living along the coastal area are vulnerable and they may have to be relocated. Then several implications on our urban infrastructure, creating more slums in the cities. Social conflicts between the residents and immigrants may lead to social unrest. Then law and order problem may be getting the worst. Socio-economic disparities may arise. Now this is the major impact. Then the first, this is of course I just wanted to show about this, the not necessary for shoreline erosion, the sea level rise, sinking and feeling. Livestock production, our livestock production is going to fall and aquaculture is going to suffer on account of the heat-induced stress and susceptibility to infection. As the temperature rises, massive fish kills are more likely because of the deficit of the dissolved oxygen. Poultry is higher susceptible to temperature increase. Outbreak of epidemics and diseases are more likely. Food gets spoiled more rapidly. Fruits, milk, meat, vegetables and other perishables may be spoiled more rapidly. Then water shortages. These are all the ill effects. These are all the side effects because of global warming and the greenhouse effect. As the earth becomes hotter, more water is required to sustain the life. But per capita water supplies are beginning to fall very rapidly, leading to the water poverty or water scarcity. Then toxigenic algal blooms may spoil the drinking water resources. I told you that increasing in temperature will lead to that blooming of the algae. Blooming of that algae will lead to that completely affecting that water also. These algal blooms will spoil the drinking water resources. Rates of evapotranspiration increases as the temperature increases. So more quantum of evapotranspiration is going to taking place, and more quantum of the groundwater will get affected, with the result that the depletion of the groundwater takes place. Then conflicts for water may become more common, as emphasized periodically by the World Bank also. Then coming to that other environmental effects, floods, cyclones, drought. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding the impact of climate change on monsoon and rainfall. I told you, even though that you could be able to see even that yesterday there was a heavy rain in Chennai. Why? These are all because of the change in the climatic things. And again, it seems to certain countries like India is going to experience periodic and severe drought, unseasonal heavy downpours. So the downpours are equally dangerous. Similarly, the drought is also dangerous. A general decrease in the rainfall. Cyclones around the east coast of India have become less common and less severe after 1990. Rainfall may be unevenly distributed. I told you in the beginning, whenever there is an uneven distribution of the rainfall, means automatically that rainy days have shrunken, and even though the rainy season may be for 3 months, but the rainy days have shrunken and the quantum of rain is increased during those rainy days, and sometimes we are not in a position, we are not in the place to, what is this one, to be able to able to withstand this effect, means it will lead to the several floods. For example, when the stormwater drains are not cleaned, when there is an urban conglomeration or more taking place, and there is no proper drainage system is not there, then if all these things are not there, means we are not preparing ourselves for such type of heavy floods. With the result, what will happen? That low-lying areas will get flooded. Apart from that, that other legal things are also there. We thought that, okay, that rain may not be there this year or that year. If consequently 2 or 3 years the rain is not there, means we are thinking that will not be any more rain in future. With the result, large quantum of the encroachments are taking place in the water body areas. But suddenly, at one season, there is an unprecedented rain happen, means what will happen? All these areas, that is, which were some few years back as a, what is this, water bodies are the catchment areas. With the result, those low-lying areas will get flooded. Automatically, the people who are living in that area will also get affected. So this is the very important. This is what happened in 2015 in Chennai also. Then forest fires, sea invasion, coastal erosion. 1 second, I'll take water. Then this is a HTL erosion. Possible impact on the mangroves. This is the most important. Mangroves may be deprived of fresh water and they may be killed. And rising sea levels and sinking soil surface may bring the mangroves under permanent flooding of the seawater. And mangroves have died in large scale along the coastal areas of the Orissa. Coastal biodiversity may adversely impacted because of the rise in sea level. And mangroves are forming that unique ecosystem. And they are very, very essential. They are forming like a buffer between the sea and the land areas. And they are very thick in the biodiversity. And they are very heavy with the, what is this one, biofuels also. So these mangroves, they are unique ecosystems and are very, very important. And because of there is a heavy flooding which is taking place and the mangroves are getting inundated, means with the result, what will happen? It will have a tremendous effect on the ecology as well as the economy of the particular country also. Climate change related to sea level rise and the climate change induced natural calamities related to sea level rise may be slow, 8 to 12 centimeters, 100 years. Tsunami 2000 could change the contours of the sea coast and alter the banks of rivers. Killer cyclones may cause vast devastation. Frequency of the cyclone and the intensity of the cyclone are rise. Drought, damming of the rivers, exploitation of the fresh water. Mangrove forest dependent communities may cause greater damage for the immediate survival. Aquaculture has already consumed large areas of the mangroves. Okay, this is not necessary for you. This is only the photograph which was taken. Okay, devastation of the mangroves during the change in the coastal line. Then mangroves may have saved some people and property during the tsunami, but the mudflats which supported the mangroves have buried in the sandy area. Then the tsunami 2004 has changed the landscape and caused the death of mangroves in Kanisagarad Island. Deforestation and destruction could occur on account of natural phenomena such as drifting of sea and the sea invasion. Then large scale of deaths in the mangroves in Kanisagarad Island. Then future challenges. This is the most important. The benefits of the Kyoto Protocol, especially the carbon credit, are the CDM. What is this CDM? CDM is nothing but the Clean Development Mechanism. What is that CDM? Previously, in any industry, when the waste effluents are coming out, we are following only the end pipe treatment. What is that end pipe treatment? Whatever the waste which is coming out of the factory, at the end of the pipe, we are collecting the waste, we are treating that waste. After the due treatment, as per the standards laid down by the respective pollution control board and the government, we have to let out that effluents in any of the natural streams, reservoirs, and the other wastelands. Now, this process is going on changing. Now, what is the change means? Instead of going for the end pipe treatment, you incorporate it in your process itself and see that your waste is getting reduced. This is what? Reduction of the waste, reuse of the waste, recycling of the waste, and finally, of course, the respecting that environment. So with the result, when you are reusing, recycling, reducing, instead of going for the end pipe treatment, there you are producing more quantum of the waste, and by treating that waste, you are discharging. Instead of that one, in the process itself, you change the process and thereby reduce the waste automatically. That is the end pipe treatment changing to slowly the clean development mechanism. So this is the most important one. We have already voluntarily agreed to reduce our carbon emissions. Then regarding that carbon trading, I will tell you in the next class. Then we have given that assurance to that international body during the Kyoto Protocol and the United Nations Framework Convention on the climate change that we will be reducing our carbon emissions by nearly 20% in the 2012. There is a terrific opposition in the nuclear power initiative of the government. Solar power is expensive and lot of land is needed. Biofuels are not adequate to meet our demand. If one is an optimist, there are certain benefits. Cloth, grains and other things will grow dried very quickly, may not require a hot water for bathing, may not have a dry cleaning. One may have a lot of money by marketing that water. More number of the security guard may be required to protect our water resources. Water wars may increase the demand for the weapons. All of them can increase your GDP by over 10% in the annum. These are the negative effects, but you can consider it as a positive effect. Arctic climate change impact by a team of 300 national scientists. The study predicts a global temperature increases 3 to 9 degrees over next 100 years. The Arctic region can be taken as an indicator of the global climate change. When the world scientists warning to humanity, 100,000 noted scientists and Nobel laureates issued the warning. Hence the warning, human beings and the natural world are in collision course. We must move away from the fossil fuels to cut greenhouse gas emissions. We talk about the low carbon economy, but in practice we focus on the GDP growth rate. Then IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, Chairman Rajendra Pachauri shared the Nobel Prize in Al Gore in the year 2007 for the campaign about the climate change. Then life versus environment. Now we are coming to that end. Life is not what we eat and what we live, but life is what we live and what we leave. Thank you so much. Now the time is exactly 4:45, and if there is any scope for the questions, doubts, clarification, criticism and comments, you are most welcome in another 2 minutes. Thank you so much. Madam, now the time is around 4:43. Hello?
Sir?
4:42 or 4:43. So 2 minutes I am leaving for the question and answer.
Sir, session end பண்ணிக்கலாம் sir.
End பண்ணிடலாமா? Okay. So today, what is the to me how far the climate change is being affected on especially a country like India? I have viewed in the international. Now, in a nutshell, if I say, I have taken about what is this global warming and what is the greenhouse effect. What are the various gases which are considered to be the greenhouse gases, and what are the major sources for those greenhouse effects, greenhouse gases? I have listed that thing. Now, what is the explanation with reference to that? What is the greenhouse effect? I have just explained a car parked in the shady area or in the sunlight, how this warming is taking place inside the car. Now, I have explained about the physics aspect of the troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, and the energy coming into that atmosphere, energy coming into the solar energy, entering into our troposphere, entering into our atmosphere, and not getting it reflected back. With the result, the temperature is increasing. That phenomenon I have explained. And finally, because of the global warming, what is the general effects on the ecology, general effects on the economy, and again, what is the specific impact which is going to cause in our Indian thing, I have explained. So with this one, I am closing it. Now the time is around 4:45. And thank you to the Tanna Institute of Management for extending this opportunity to take the class. In our next class, I will tell little more detail about the climate change when the time permits. Thank you so much. Madam?
Thank you, sir.
Close பண்ணிடலாமா?
Close பண்ணிடலாம், sir.
Okay, madam. Thank you, thank you, thank you.